guys, today I wanted to make the second part of the All About Hammocks series on YouTube. This video I'm going to be talking about hammock materials, different kinds of hammocks. I'll get into the ridgeline some, and stuff sacks. That's what I'm going to be covering in this part of the hammock. You're wondering why I've got this up here. No, this video wasn't about tarps. I just didn't want to switch my snake skin over to my hammock right now, so I'm just using that for a demonstration. So let's get right into it. Okay, first of all, about different hammock materials. Nylon, polyester are going to be almost all of them. The 90% of them are going to be either one of those two, and so those are going to be the main ones I'm talking about. This right here is nylon. Now, when I say nylon, I'm just talking about the whole bundle of them, okay? There's Hyper D, argon, a million different types of nylon, and there's taffeta, all these different off branches of nylon, but the same principle basically applies from one to the other. So nylon versus polyester. Basically, to sum it up real easy and just simplify it and say polyester doesn't have much stretch. So I mean, if you like more of a firm kind of lay, or in your bed you like it a little bit more firm, polyester hammocks might be good for you because you get into them, they don't really stretch a whole lot. As where with nylon, it has quite a bit more give, and when you first get into it, it's got more of a bounce to it, and you kind of sink into it throughout the night, and it'll form a little bit better to your body. I like nylon a million times more. I've tried polyester. They're fine, you know, for just hanging around or something, but for me, for sleeping, horribly uncomfortable with polyester. But I mean, that's just going to be something you guys are just going to have to experiment and play around with. The fabrics also come in something called denier. Is a way of kind of measuring fabric along with your C materials that have like ripstop nylon 1.9 or ripstop nylon 1.1, 1.6, whatever. That's another different way to determine, basically, to sum it up, it's basically the strength and the thickness of the material. So let's just say the numbers, 1.9 means 1.9 ounces per square yard. There's 2.2, which is 2.2 ounces per square yard. About the lowest most people will get to is 1.1, which translates over to 30 denier. People say it's good to about 200 pounds, being safe. And I would say that's true. Personally, I like the 1.6 ripstop nylon. That's my material of choice. This right here is the ripstop nylon Hyper D 1.6. I know it's kind of a mouthful. And 1.6 has a really good, a good in-between between strength, being lightweight, and the stretch it has. The higher the number per square yard, generally speaking, it's going to be less stretchy, and it's also going to hold a lot more though. So I mean, you can look online and get all the different recommendations for this material versus this weight, and find your own comfort rating, and then kind of choose a fabric from there. Polyester works the exact same way as nylon. You're just going to have to pick your weight and figure out if you want a single layer, double layer, what material. All this stuff is just up for a choice. I'm just kind of explaining it to you guys. Let's get into different parts of the hammock, or different styles of hammock, sorry. This right here is a gathered end hammock, meaning the ends are just gathered up. There's a few different ways to do that. This one has a sewn channel with the suspension ran through it. There's others that are just basically just wadded up material. You wrap around your suspension right onto the hammock gathered end. There's bridge hammocks, which are quite a bit different. They've got a lot more flat lay, and they're also more tippy, and generally they have spreader bars holding it open. Here, just picture basically a cot suspended between two trees, and that's essentially what a bridge hammock is. And then there's completely different ones, which are like the Hammock and the Sky Bliss tent hammocks and all these. I don't really even know how to begin to explain those, so I mean that's just something you guys are gonna have to look into. So for the common ones, there's gathered end hammocks, there's bridge hammocks, and yeah, those are pretty much just the common ones, and each one of those varies a million different ways. But something almost all hammocks are gonna have in common is the ridge line running from point A to point B of the hammock. And all the ridge line does is, okay, you see the curve that the hammock has? The ridge line just ensures that it keeps that curve. So basically you just want the ridge line made out of preferably Dyneema, but a material that doesn't stretch. Because this whole purpose of this is so that, here, let me show you. So the hammock's slack, and then so you basically just keep pulling it tight, and the ridge line will go tight before the hammock body will. And the purpose of that is just to make sure that you have the exact same lay every time. And how to figure out the ridge line length, what you want to do is take your hammock body, assuming you buy or make a hammock that doesn't come with a ridge line installed. What you're going to do is take the hammock body, lay it out completely flat on your floor, and you're going to take that measurement and then take 83% of the total hammock length laid flat. 83% of that is what the ridge line should be lengthwise, and that should give you your nice 30-degree angle. You don't want too much, and you don't want too little of a percent. 83 is a really good starting point, and I mean obviously you guys can vary, change that up as much as you like, but there's a really good starting point to get a good, comfortable, and healthy for your back laying position. These come standard, which this is standard, meaning it's fixed. You can't adjust it. I mean, unless you want to tie knots and all this crap, but this is the length it is, and that's all it's going to be. You can get ones that are adjustable. I'll kind of get into more of that later, but you can get them adjustable, you know, to where if you tighten it, basically it crunches up the hammock ends, or if you loosen it, it gives it more of a straight kind of feel to the hammock. Again, that's all personal preference. You can also just play around with a standard fixed ridge line and just kind of tie temporary knots until you find it comfortable. That's what I do. I don't really see any point in adjustable ridge lines. Just for the fact that I feel like if I get my perfect lay, I just feel like if it's adjustable, it's bound to get kind of screwed up at some point, and then I'm going to have to go around and take forever and try and find a perfect lay again. To each is their own again. All right, guys, so let's get into stuff sacks. All right, guys, so we talked about the different types of hammocks, the ridge lines. So let's get into stuff sacks. So there's your standard stuff sack where you can it's just basically a bag and you just cram everything into it. Works fine, doesn't matter what material you use. There's the bishop bags, which this is, and the bishop bag is essentially just an open tube on both ends, and each side has a cord lock. What I like to do is just cinch it up on one side of my suspension. That way it doesn't pull over it, and leave the other side open. And how this works, how I do it, is take off your suspension, just kind of wad up parts of the hammock, and then just stuff it in there. Make sure you guys, if you make your own bags, just save yourself the trouble. Make them big enough. You know, it's worth not having to cram it in and hurt your fingers. Okay, so that's all that a Bishop bag is. And to deploy it, all you do is loosen up that cord lock, pull it, hook it to your tree straps, which we'll get into later, the purpose and how to use those. And then it just sits there and it's ready to be packed up again later. Now this is called snake skins or hammock tubes, whatever. Snake skins is the most common name for them though. All it is basically like a Bishop bag, but it runs the whole length of either your hammock or your tarp. This isn't about the tarp. I'm just saying, I just have it up here because I have snake skins set up on my tarp. Bishop bags work for the hammocks, they work for tarps. Snake skins work for tarps, work for hammocks. All this stuff can work on either one. It's just up to you to figure out how you like your hang set up the best. In this, I like a Bishop bag on the hammock, snake skins on top. Now, nice thing about snake skins, if it's a nice day while I'm camping, you know, and I just kind of want to hang out in the hammock or whatever, but then, you know, have the tarp ready to go just in case. So hang it up, but I mean, you know, if bad weather starts to roll around, what's nice about the snake skins is if bad weather's coming in, all you do is loosen up the cord lock on that side and you just pull it open. That's literally all there is to snake skins. It's just a long tube, and there you go. You can be set up and ready to go. And then how to pack it up with snake skins, I mean, you just kind of real crappily just roll up the tarp. And then, you know, sil nylon especially is a slippery material, which this tarp is. But I mean, the snake skins just slide right over this stuff. Then you just cinch up the end, and there you go. Tarp's packed up, super quick, easy, convenient. It's there if you need it. Now, one thing I'm gonna talk about with the materials of stuff sacks, snake skins, Bishop bags, all those things, it does not matter what kind of material you use as in terms of will it work. Yes, mesh will work, nylon, polyester, Cuban fiber, all of them will work. The main difference is mesh, you have a tendency to get it ripped. Nylon and polyester are perfect. They get wet, they dry really quick, and they do their job, which is to hold either the hammock or the tarp. Now, Cuban fiber for a tarp stuff sack, I do not recommend at all. Nothing against the company who made them. They're made well. It's just a bad material for a tarp. And that being said, because if it's raining and this thing's all opened up and crunched up to one side because it's raining, when I get it home, it's sopping wet. You know, I open up the tarp and let it hang. But since this is Cuban fiber is a waterproof material, but the seams and stuff on this are not waterproof, so water gets in. And so the outside of this is soaked and the inside of this is soaked, and it takes forever for it to dry hanging up. So I mean, you got it all open up on one side, and then finally the outside of the snake skin's dry, but since it's waterproof, there's no air getting into it, so the inside's still soaking wet. So basically, you just gotta completely flop this thing inside out and then let the inside of this thing dry, and then switch it back right side in once that's dry, and then you can pack up your tarp. I find that incredibly annoying. I didn't happen to think about that before I bought them, so I'll be switching these out probably for some mesh ones. But I mean, other than that, it really doesn't matter what you use. Same thing with hammock material. just for hammock material and stuff sacks, unless it's like for keeping your sleeping bag or something dry. I'm talking for hammocks and tarps. I wouldn't mess, especially tarps. I wouldn't mess with a waterproof stuff sack because it doesn't dry. Hammocks, don't get a waterproof material. Your back's gonna get super sweaty. It's not gonna breathe. It's gonna be uncomfortable. It's too slippery. You know, just save yourself the headache, the money. Get something breathable. If it gets wet, it'll dry really quickly. It's nice and cool on those summer evenings when it's hot. The breathable material, that little breeze underneath you really feels good. So just regular nylon, polyester, whatever, just not steel nylon, not polyurethane, not Cuban fiber. There are people who've done this stuff. I don't recommend it. I feel like it's a bad idea. Most people are going to be uncomfortable doing it. The most I would say for coating is almost all outdoor materials have something called DWR coating, which is durable water repellent, and that's all it is. It's not waterproof, it's just a water repellent coating, so it's still breathable. That's perfectly fine for a hammock. I've had several that have it on there. It'll wear off eventually, no big deal. You're not gonna notice it, you're not gonna feel it. But I mean, make sure you got something breathable for a hammock. I mean, just take my word for it. Other than that, the choice is all up to you guys. Anyway, this sums it up for part 2 of the All About Hammocks. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys.